Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Reaching the Pinnacle. And I latest, huh?
Oh, they said the pickle.
The way I got some of those words out, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what everybody heard. But if we can rewind a second, welcome to the latest edition of Reaching the Pinnacle. Oh gosh,
Christmas edition.
The Christmas edition. Hopefully everybody's been doing pretty awesome. And if you haven't seen the picture for this episode, you need to go and check it out because it's pretty amazing. So we did promise you another episode before the holiday season started until after the first of the year. And here you go. And that's it. All right. Have a good day.
All right. Well, let's go do some leg training.
Yeah, exactly. So you might be wondering, how do we finish the year? A wonderful year of podcasts, a wonderful year of training, and a wonderful year of life. We're going to talk a little bit about muscles. And
I would never have anticipated that, but I guess figured after 2 years of talking about this, we could go into another direction. But
yeah,
keep coming back to this.
At some point in time, we might be able to branch off into like news and entertainment. But
it does remind me, though, we are going to have on our next episode, just so whoever's listening out there is aware of it, we are going to have another guest on the show.
Oh, nice.
And so it'll be, we're going to do an episode on it's going to be more nutrition based. We're starting a different program here at our gym, but the lady who's kind of heading that up is going to be on talking about this program that we're getting ready to launch. So anyway, it's just not going to be me and you next time we have another guest. So maybe
right on.
A little more entertaining.
Yeah, and then we don't have to kill so much time.
Right.
With long pauses and other things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about we're going to get a little bit more scientific than we normally do, I think, today, and we're going to talk a little bit more about training aspects to put on more muscle. Or is that what we're thinking? Or?
Yeah, that's pretty much what's kind of sparked this episode, and we have talked about some of these things probably multiple times, I'm sure. But an individual gave me a book the other day. But he's like, hey, you should read this book. It's a new book. Just came out. And it's all about muscle building and the science behind it. And all these studies are cited and so forth and so on. And so I said, yeah, I'd like to take a look at it. And so I've just kind of been browsing through it at night, before I go to bed. I don't get very far because I usually fall asleep in about 3 minutes.
Right.
But, yeah, I thought it might be interesting to go and talk about again what actually is behind, like what actually affects or influences your body to gain muscle, Mm-hmm. Like what actually does it, like why?
Right.
Not just...
Well, I don't think we've gotten into some of the tricks of the trade and things like that, but I don't think we've actually really dove into why.
Well, we have a little bit, but you're right. I mean, not probably to the level that we may hear today. I was thinking, like, for example, there's a chapter in the book, and we have hit on these roles of variables or whatever. Sure. And so, there's, like, for example, I'll just read from the book right now.
Okay.
What can affect it? You got volume. All right, we have talked about volume in the past.
Right.
Frequency of training, exercise selection, the type of muscle action, rest between sets, the repetition duration, the exercise order. I know we've talked about that.
Sure.
Maybe not like how this book does, but I know we have. Range of motion. We've talked about that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe most importantly, in my opinion, intensity of effort. So those are kind of the variables that you can manipulate to hopefully stimulate more muscle growth.
Right. That's a big apple to take a bite out of. So, given all those principles, what do you think we should start out with?
Well, I thought maybe they start out the book talking about different kinds of muscle fiber or fiber types,
right.
Which we have never really discussed, I don't think, at all on the show. And so I know that's more your realm of expertise, way more than mine. And so I just want to get your kind of general, what do you think, what I didn't even, most people, they'd probably think there's only one kind of muscle, and but
it's either big or small.
Can you lead that a little bit and tell us, basically what I'm saying is, according to research, you got different kinds of muscle fiber, and maybe potentially they are they respond to a stimulus of training or whatever differently.
They sure do.
All right.
So yeah, you've got a couple different types. Most people have probably heard of well, you've got type 1 and type 2 basically, and most people have probably heard that have been in the gym a while have probably heard of fast and slow twitch muscles. Okay, your fast twitch muscles are more of the red muscles, like on a chicken. Your dark meat on a chicken, it's more of your red muscles. And if you think about it, red muscles are more of the type 2. That's more of the fast twitch, the thigh where you sprint a lot and you're on your feet a lot and stuff. So your fast twitch muscles are going to be more of your explosive movements and things like that, stronger movements, and it's kind of an interesting thing because you have your type 1, which is your slow muscles, which are oxidative fibers, which are fibers that are like the breast of a chicken. If you imagine everything a chicken does, it's always flapping its wings, and in birds when they fly, they always are flapping.
So they can go a long time.
So they can go a long time
and not get tired, essentially.
Exactly.
But they can't generate as much
power or as much strength and even explosion and things like that. So the thing is that there's in every muscle group in your body you've got a little bit of both. Okay, so if you start exercising toward one stimuli, if you start maybe going and doing your resistance training, 20, 25, 35 reps, a set, you're going to work more of the oxidative stuff, and it's going to be more of a longer, thinner muscle look. So you can, again, and we've already said this, you look like how you train, basically. If you don't want to be a 300-pound off-season bodybuilder, you're probably not going to look like one because you're probably not training that way, right? So that's how that works. And then for the red cells, or for the red muscle, for the fast twitch muscle, you're going to be working more explosion stuff. You're going to be working more strength, or even a hypertrophy, which is muscle growth.
Now, is there a greater potential for growth in one, as far as building muscle, in one fiber type versus another?
Yeah, I mean, yes, in terms of look. Now, you can build them both, but again, one of them doesn't build as big in size and builds more towards function, and the other one builds function but also builds in size. So, and it's the type 2 that builds the muscle bigger.
See, and that's what I'm not for sure 100%. I'll read different articles, not in this particular book, but I was reading an article yesterday, and it said something to the effect of one of the reasons that, or maybe something that bodybuilders or people trying to build more muscle for a look, they are missing out maybe on training in these oxidative muscles, these type 1 muscle.
Right.
That actually they say they're actually, I've read a little bit, I think even in here, maybe they do have almost as much potential for growth. It's just different. It's not being brought out in that particular due to training method, or you know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know if that's true or not.
And it's hard to say. It could be a situation where like your arm. If you want, a lot of people will tell you if you want a bigger biceps peak, you train your forearm muscles that attach across the elbow, and it pushes the biceps out farther. So it could even be something more of a maybe as you train your oxidative muscle fibers, it might actually push the red fibers, the fast twitch fibers out.
So what would you say? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, but you also have a couple of different type 2 fibers. You have type 2A, type 2B. Type 2A are oxidative, and type 2B are glycolytic. But the thing is that those fibers can be adapted. So, and here, this might be kind of bridging that gap from type 1 and type 2, is that these type 2A and B fibers also can actually... they're called kind of like, especially the type 2B, 2BX fibers are called hybrid fibers. And they can actually adjust one way or another.
Based on what's happening to
stimulate them? On how you train them. And you can tell, and when your type 2BX fibers kick in, you can always tell. If anybody's ever been doing a heavy bench press and you get about halfway up and it feels like you can't do anymore, and then all of a sudden, slowly but surely, you start pressing out of that plateau. Mm-hmm. Those are the type 2BX fibers kicking in. They're meant to kind of give you that last over the top, because when you say glycolytic, that's just like a short, sudden, like not a sudden burst, but just a short burst, because sugar energy doesn't last as long as oxidative energy. I hope that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing I want to bring up, and I've seen this, is just kind of just while my mind's on it, I've seen some supplements start advertising about building new fibers and building splitting fibers and things like that. It's called hyperplasia. Humans don't split fibers. Humans don't grow fibers like that. Cats do. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at a supplement that talks about splitting fibers and creating more fibers, we don't do hyperplasia in our body. It's a cat thing.
Right. I did read something about that as well in this book.
Good.
I don't know. Do you want to get in now into some of these variables, or what do you think?
Yeah, let's dig in. Now that we have a good base on that.
Well, and maybe relate this to program building.
Sure.
You know, like I don't know. According to, well, what do you think? What's the most important variable? Again, we're kind of going to go over the variables again. I'll just the volume of a workout, the frequency of your workout. Maybe the selection of exercises. I don't know. Maybe we should kind of pick 3 or 4 of these that we think might be a little more important and then
Sure.
go into them, because there's like 8 or 9 that we could discuss.
Yeah.
I would say volume, frequency, intensity of effort, and maybe
I think maybe you think load, or I guess we can probably lump load
Yeah,
and intensity together.
all right. Let's start there. So volume.
Okay.
What do you think volume? What effect does volume have, and what is volume? I guess we need to define that. And what effect does it have on these different kinds of muscle fiber? And just thoughts on that.
So my interpretation of volume, and yours might be a little different, or the same, but my interpretation of volume is basically just your sets and your reps. How much are you doing, and the load, the per set, per exercise, per week, per day. I mean, whatever. It's just the amount you're doing, as far as I'm concerned. And I think that has a good amount to do with how it changes your body and your muscles. I mean, there's given protocols out there for strength and explosion and things like that. And I think when we train, I think we utilize a rep range anywhere from 12 to 15, 8 to 12, 10 to 12, 8 to 10, 6 to 8, 6 to 10, and I think all those that type of volume is conducive to different types of training, and I think that they all are going to.
I would, I think that I agree with that. I don't know, maybe volume maybe as defined as you're going to do X amount of repetitions, or maybe X amount of sets during a particular workout for a particular body part.
Yeah.
So if we're doing back, I would categorize like a low volume workout with 12 sets and a high volume of 30 sets or something like that.
High, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what
Well, and
what do you think?
I think in each given set range, and again with underlying rep range being a secondary factor, I think those things go again with what your intent on training is. And so we're looking to build muscle. And I think it's very important when you're building muscle, because we talk a lot about how less is more. So if we're looking to build muscle, I think a lower volume is beneficial.
All right, so
but
some of these studies are pointing basically towards the opposite, which
Right.
That's why these studies sometimes I look at and I'm like,
Yeah.
they seem.
But again, your volume raises though if you're doing a low volume in terms of sets, but you're doing 15 to 20 reps, your volume kind of increases again.
Right, so it can be manipulated a little bit depending on, you might only do 3 sets, but if you're doing 20 rep sets, you still got the same amount of repetitions at the end of
6.
somebody doing 6 of 10 reps or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think we just kind of circled around, and I think we're right back where we started.
Yeah, I think so. So
I do want to. I think basically, though, before we go much further, there is no right answer here, folks.
Right.
I mean, you have to really figure this out on your own, how you develop best, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no, I think that what I'm trying to get across to people now, and even myself, because I'm kind of like, we talk, we have our kind of own methods or whatever, but maybe experiment a little bit. And don't just get in a rut of, I'm just going to do low volume, or I'm only going to do high volume, or I'm only going to do this or that. I do want to